Hey guys, it's Chase here. Not too much of an introduction needed. This is the Gemmy 2009 5-foot tall life-size animated green slot Cauldron witch. I just got this item and some of the movements on this are not functioning. But I did want to get a quick clip of what this does before we go ahead and repair it, because in this video we'll be doing a full restoration on this. I was pleasantly surprised to figure out that half the movements on this actually do work, especially the eyes, because I figured that the eyes would be split on this, but they do not seem to be split. I think they work. They are a little bit slow, but they seem to be functioning. So I want to show what she does so far before we get into the repair.
What a delicious looking person!
So as you guys can see, the body, eyes, and mouth do work, but the head tilt and the stirring of the cauldron does not. The misting does seem to work on this. I just don't have it plugged in right now, and I don't want to put water in it because I'm about to repair the cauldron and I want to dump it out and have moisture all over it. But yeah, so about half the movements work on this, 2 do not, so we will go ahead and fix that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So I can already see 2 axis points on this for the mechanism, so I could probably just get away with unscrewing the body shell and then instead of taking it off, just moving it over to the side. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. That'll probably be in my best interest as opposed to just taking the entire thing off. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do. But I have to get this piece off first, which seems to... I probably also have to just... the body shell will have to come off first because there's some screws down here that releases this one from the actual turning mech. So once I take off the body shell, everything should be accessible. But I'm not going to take the entire thing off. I'm just going to move it over to the side and it should work out for us. Instead of removing the screw in the back, which is what holds this tilting piece onto the wheel on the mechanism, I've just unscrewed the front, which holds on these 2 plastic shafts, which allows it to move up and down. And so now we can comfortably move this back, and this should work for us because I can reach this screw. I think I might have to move it over a little bit, flex the plastic a little bit to get to this. Oh, actually maybe not. Okay, so I should be able to reach all of them, and then from there I can pull up the entire mechanism, then I get to that one screw down there that split. The whole mechanism split in the most inconvenient way possible, so usually I don't have to do this. Whenever I fix a tilting mechanism, because I've fixed like 2-3 of these by now, I can usually just go into the back and unscrew it, but not in this case, so I will go ahead and get up these screws, and there's just 3 of them that's holding them in place. Yeah. And so far all these screws have been the exact same, which is nice, so I can keep them all in the same cup, which is what I've been doing. Let's see. Yep, right up. Didn't even have to flex it at all. Shoot. There we go. Definitely a good idea to have your screwdriver magnetized when you're doing this. So when you get the screw up, it'll stick to it. Mine is kind of losing its magnetism, so I'm going to have to run it through the magnet again. But it still does kind of work. So, yep, and it's going to come up right now. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to unscrew the little screw right here that's been giving me trouble this whole time. This wasn't even screwed in all the way, so either way I'm kind of glad I'm having to fix this, because over time this will become even more loose, and then it'll wear down the mechanism because the screw's having to rub up on the little plastic piece right here, so it's kind of a good thing I got to this when I did. So now we can just have this hanging down, and it's okay for the wires because they're glued right here, so they're not being held down by the little points where they're soldered. So this will come up just fine, and there's a glue that's literally giving me no wiggle room for these wires, these very thin wires right here, but I should still be able to work with what I've got. And if not, I can always unsolder them. It's really just the one that's on this. Actually, no. It's wanting to tug, but I can get to it. It's really the one that's on the resistor right here that's giving me the business right now, but yeah, I'll go ahead and undo these screws, which again are not in all the way. Nobody's repaired this beforehand, so this is just from the factory. So after taking the screw off, I realized that this is not a gear-driven mechanism. It is a gear-driven mechanism, but it has a belt on it, so instead of the gear being on the motor shaft, it's on this piece right here that goes down in the gearbox. So I will actually have to open up the gearbox, which is kind of sucky, but I figured I'd have to do that in the first place, so I guess it's really no different. So I'll go ahead and put the screw back on here because there was no point in taking that off in the first place. And then I will go ahead and undo, because there's only 4 screws that hold in this gearbox right here. And fortunately, there's no little piece right here that's holding this shaft in. So this should just be able to pull directly through without me having to actually take off the square shaft circle piece right here, which is what moves this up and down. So I shouldn't even have to touch that, fortunately. So let me go ahead and undo those screws. I recounted the teeth on the gear that we just took out. It's actually a 9-tooth, not a 10-tooth. I kind of picked up on that mistake when I compared the 2 gears together, and one looked bigger than the other. So we got our 9-tooth. I'm glad I noticed that before even installing it. So we should just be able to slide this directly on. I'm going to take off this little shaft right here and put that down here. And this should just slide on in a perfect world, but it's probably going to give me some issues. I might have to apply some force off camera. Yeah. It's really because you've got a wall right here that's kind of limiting where you can place force, so it makes it difficult. So what I'm going to do, what I like to do, is I'm going to take, because I've got it slid on right now, I am going to take the head of this solder sucker and put it directly on top of this gear right here, which will push it down without moving the shaft. And now we've got the gear on. You can see that this spins good now. There's enough space in between, so we've got that on now. That's spinning good. And now we can go ahead and put the rest of the gears on. And put this shaft back on here. Okay. It should go on like this, doesn't it? Yes. So you can see the gears, they just gear up. So they're a pretty simple mechanism. And now we should just be able to pop this back into place. Hopefully. I have to spin this. Oh. No, it goes right back on. And after spinning this, actually I can just, yep. Sounds very healthy now. Gears are all making contact. I don't even need to test this, I know, because after forcefully spinning it, like, I can just feel that it's okay. So at this point I can go ahead and put it back together, put all the screws back in. I probably will go ahead and test it before reinstalling it back in, just in case something is going on with it, but I highly doubt it because you can move it with your fingers. But we'll go ahead and screw everything back on, and then we will, once that's done, we'll move on to the Cauldron. So I think at this point, now that it's been put back together, we can stand in awe that none of the wires pulled off and no screws got lost. So I guess we'll go ahead and test it. We should see some head tilting now.
Double, Cauldron bubble. Come in here and you're in trouble!
So the head does tilt now. A little bit louder than I'd like. I'll go ahead and put her back in her kind of resting position. Yeah, a little bit louder than I'd like, but not much I can do about that. It's a fresh gear, so... But yeah, everything seems to be running smoothly, so I'll go ahead and screw the body back on, and then we will move on to the Cauldron. So we are now on the I guess, least exciting portion of the repair, the Cauldron, which is known to be a pain. I personally don't like the mechanism. I don't think it's designed too well, because you can see with it already needing to support these heavy plastic hands and the stick, it already wobbles like this, which I'm not really a big fan of. And already we can hear a screw in there, so I'm not very excited to see what we're going to see inside of this. But all the screws on the bottom are here, so it's got to be one on the inside. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So we'll start by I usually start by unscrewing these bottom pieces, because there's holes right here which hold the mechanism in, but once you unscrew those, the mechanism is just going to go flying through. So the smart thing is to just go ahead and undo the bottom pieces that are holding in the actual plastic piece that's holding in the mechanism. So, you know, I'm using too big of a screwdriver currently, so I'm having to like position it perfectly. Okay, so now that we have all these screws undone, what we want to do is we're going to twist this so that these pieces line up with these indents right here. And now we can just push down. Alright. Yeah, there's still wires attached here, so I'm going to flip this back over and see if I can get those undone, or what I can do to keep them from being pulled out. Not much, so I'll probably just have this on its side while I'm working on it. Yeah, that'll work. And here is the screw that was rattling around the entire time. So we'll figure out what that goes to, but in the meantime, I just want to get to this mechanism so I can replace the gear and be done with it. So we've gotten the gearbox out, and as you can see, it's just a head turn mech with this track placed on it, and the purpose of the track is just to allow the misting to constantly get power, because the Cauldron does do a full 360, and obviously if wires were attached to there between the mechanism and the rotating top, then the wires would just pull directly off. Is that? No, I'm gonna use a new cup with these ones. I think these are different size. Irregardless, it'd be a good idea to kind of separate those ones. The head turning mech in this, I think these are from like the dancing characters, like the 5-foot ones. I could be wrong. I know that on a Sassy Witch that I repaired, a Cauldron one, the gearbox was, I used one from like a dancing snowman because it was all stripped out, so, and it ended up working fine. So there's that. And now we can, you know, a small screwdriver, but then we can just go ahead and get directly into this part, and we'll take off this cap right here. And it's just a simple pop this off, put the new gear on, and it'll be good. And again, I do want to see how split this is, so I'm going to just take off this belt right here, and I am going to attempt to just basically slide this all the way through. That is a very split gear. So we will go ahead and get this taken off. Is this my screwdriver? Yes. So we'll go ahead and take these ones off here. When you pull this off, all the gears in here are pretty compressed, so they're all going to want to pull up. So I like to have a screwdriver in the hole while I'm pulling this up, so we can keep the big gear down, which is also going to keep all the other gears down. And if successful, no gears got pulled up. However, the shaft did come up. We can just pop back into place pretty quickly. Just like that. Here's the gear. I want to be careful this time and make sure that we're actually putting on the correct tooth gear. Just pull it up. I should be wearing gloves like I did last time, but this is a probably 10 tooth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a 10 tooth gear. The split doesn't seem to be too intense. It might not be all the way down. Oh no, it is. Go ahead and put a 10 tooth back in here. I will again have to put this piece through and then put the gear on. It doesn't seem like it needs to go too far down, just barely on. I'm going to use my tool again. There we go. Okay, so we've gotten the gear on just right. As you can see, it can spin perfectly fine. More than fine, actually. That's very loose. I like that. So I'm not even going to bother checking the other gears. I'm assuming these are fine. I don't know why they wouldn't be. Although on the Sassy, which I repaired that one time, one of the holes that hold the shafts in place for the gear, that was messed up. So I had to completely replace the casing, and that was not fun because I had to part out a life size, and I didn't like that. So spinning this, yep, the mechanism works. It spins. It seems to spin good. All right. Kind of gets caught up. I'm gonna take a look at that and see what's causing that. It seems to kind of want to get caught up a little bit. Okay, well, despite how it feels, it actually spins very nicely and super quietly, so I will go ahead and show that. Well, I don't know how much the camera will pick it up. I'll have to zoom in.
What a delicious looking person!
So that looks like it's going to spin pretty fast for us when we actually get it back together, which I love. I don't like slow cauldrons, so looks like it's going to work pretty good. So I'll get this back together, and that's actually pretty fast. Usually with the cauldrons it's a little bit of a pain, but that was actually relatively easy. I guess I'm just gotten used to it at this point, or this one just decided to be nice. But I'll go ahead and get this part back together. And then it'll be fully done. There's nothing else I have to do with the cauldron. It was just those two movements. But I will go ahead and put this back together and do a quick video. So somehow after putting this back together, I realized that I completely forgot to actually record the cauldron working. It works now. Very silent. Works great. I know I recorded a video of the gearbox working, but I wanted to actually record a video of it, like, with the two halves put back together without it, like, on the cauldron. But, whatever. But it does work now. Works flawlessly. Again, silent as can be. I don't know why the head mechs are always so loud. It's not even just this cauldron width. It's like every single head mech that I've dealt with has been noisy. Not even ones that I've repaired. Ones that I've just gotten have been noisy. Like, these are all fresh gears and they've just been noisy as hell, so I don't know why that is. I could try adding more grease, but it looked pretty well lubricated to begin with, so I didn't feel like I had to. And you don't want to put too much grease in there because then the gears start slowing down, as ironic as that sounds. Like, grease helps it, it quiets it down and helps it run smoother. But you put too much grease in there and it won't even run at all, so just, you gotta put the right amount in there or else no, it won't work. So, as I'm putting this back together, it's kind of being a little bit of a pain, but I will record a video once it's fully working. I am tired, but works very well. I do have the volume relatively low right now because it is late, but you can still get an idea of how it works.